Hi lovelies, how are you? I hope you're well. So in today's video I'm going to discuss a book that I just recently started reading. It's been on my to buy list for a while, and I've just been putting off getting it, but finally I one day just had this sudden urge to get it and get it immediately. So I went and bought it, and the book is Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. It's such an amazing book, and even before I got it, I had an idea what it was about. I had read reviews about it, I had read a few summaries about it, I had watched people giving reviews about it and what they thought about it. So it was on my to buy list. But this particular day, about a month ago, I believe, I just had this sudden urge to go and get it. Like I had this sudden urge to just go get it immediately. And so I went and bought it, and I'm glad that I did. Before I even talk about a specific element of it that stood out to me, reading this book has made me realize something, that there are times when you may not be ready for a certain message. Sometimes you don't get certain information, or information comes to you at certain times and not sooner or earlier, because you may not be ready for the message. And a lot of the times it has nothing to do with intellect, but a lot to do with intuition. And I feel that this particular book, Women Who Run with Wolves, in as much as it had been on my to buy list for quite a while, I believe I needed to get it now because I was ready for the message that is in the book now. I don't know, and I don't think, and I don't feel I would have received the information that I've gotten from it if I bought it a year ago. So me getting this book right now is because my heart and my intuition, and even to get a bit more specific and energetic, my heart chakra and my third eye were ready now for the message that I got from this book. And I must admit something. I haven't gone very far with this book in terms of reading it. I'm not reading it like a novel. Most of the times I normally tell myself, when I'm reading a book, I'll read let's say 5 pages a day or something. For this particular book, because of the content, I've given myself 3 pages a day. Okay? And there are moments, obviously, there are days that I did not read it, and I would read 3 pages and I would find myself the next day just ruminating and thinking about all the information I have read, and just digesting the information, and just even sometimes praying about the information that I read. And so I thought, what, maybe this is not a book review, by the way, and I do not want to call this a book club. Maybe I will eventually, I don't know. But I felt that there's one specific place I felt it was important that I talk about, and it's still in the introduction. The information I'm about to talk about is in the introduction, and the author talks about the symptoms of a disrupted relationship with yourself, with your womanhood. Because essentially a woman runs on intuition. Your intuition is like your greatest sense. We have all the other 5 senses, sense of touch, sense of taste, but your intuition is such a gift and such an essential for the woman. And so she talks about some symptoms that you as a woman will experience in the event you are having a disrupted relationship with yourself, with your womanhood. I will not go through all the symptoms, but I will mention the ones that stood out for me. So you have a disrupted relationship with your psyche, with your intuition. And the author says that you will find yourself chronically feeling, thinking, or acting in certain ways if you do not have a relationship with your instinctual psyche. And these are some of the symptoms that stood out for me. Now, remember, when you talk about a symptom, you're talking about a malady, you're talking about a disease. So it's almost as if when you are disconnected from yourself, from your womanhood, from your psyche, from your intuition, it's like you're almost unwell, I must say, because a symptom is not something positive. Yeah. So anyway, so these are the symptoms that stood out for me. Feeling frightened without inspiration. I will be for some of the symptoms, I will be saying something about them. Now, women are highly creative beings. Our sacral chakra is so important, and creativity is something very crucial to us as human beings, but even more importantly, to us as women. I mean, the act of carrying a baby in your tummy is one of the highest levels of creativity and creation. So when you lack inspiration, it means you are experiencing a block in your creativity. Another symptom is shame bearing, chronically fuming. You're just always on edge, always being angry, always just ready to be set off. Volatility or being volatile, feeling stuck, uncreative, feeling uncreative or being uncreative. I mean, if you are disconnected from your womanhood, if you're disconnected from your femininity, then obviously it's going to have an effect on your ability to create in terms of ideas, create in terms of even just making your surroundings beautiful, create in terms of just making things beautiful and, just coming up with ideas, doing things, feeling powerless. If there's something I do not like is that sense of feeling powerless. I have felt powerless at some point in my life, but when I was a child, there's a whole backstory to that. But anyway, feeling powerless is another one. Blocked is another symptom. Unable to follow through. So you make a plan, you have an idea, but you are unable to follow through. It's not that you are unwilling. Remember, there is unwilling and then there is being unable, and in this case you are unable to follow through. You have an idea, you have a plan, you have a goal, but you are unable to follow through. It's almost as if you've lost agency over your life. Other symptoms include life sapping choices in mates. Let me repeat that. Life sapping choices in mates. I have mentioned this over and over and over again, and I'll never tire to mention it. Women, human beings, are energetic beings. And women specifically, through our feminine energy, if we're not careful, we are going to be in relationships, both platonic or familial or romantic, where we're going to be with people who are energy vampires. And so in this case, then you will choose life sapping choices in mates. You'll choose people who will drain you of your life force. You will constantly choose toxic partners, either because you like the drama, either because you have some trauma, either because that is all you know, either because you're an easy target, So life sapping choice in mates. Being inert, inability to pace oneself or set limits. This I feel is like a boundary issue, and just also being self-regulated. Being self-conscious. I mean, we are self-conscious. All of us are self-conscious to a degree, but in this case, you're going to be overly self-conscious. You can't just be and do. You're constantly wondering who is watching, what impression are you leaving? You're living in fear of how people see you, view you, perceive you. So self-conscious, being drawn far into domesticity, intellectualism, work. It's like you're constantly in the doing and not in the being. Being intellectual is nothing wrong with being intellectual. I am an intellectual. I work. Okay, I love being at home and taking care of my home. But you see, it's almost as if you're being domesticated or domesticating yourself. You're being overly intellectual and you're working to distract yourself, to numb your intuition. You're in the doing mode rather than switching to the being mode. Even when you talk about femininity, you want to act feminine. You're so keen on performative femininity rather than embodied femininity. All right? And you're doing these things, domesticity, intellectualism, and work. It's because that is a safe place for you. Yeah? Because you have lost your instincts. And you see, instincts require you to be in your body more than you are in your mind. Yeah? Your instincts require you to be in your third eye so much more than in your solar plexus chakra. Okay. Another symptom is fear to reveal yourself. You are afraid to be your authentic self. You are afraid, to just be you. Nobody is perfect. But even in imperfection, you're supposed to embrace who you are. But now, when you are divorced or separated from your womanhood, from your instincts, from your psyche, you're afraid to be yourself. Another one is cringing before authority. Obviously, authority has to be respected and they have to earn the respect, but you're just cringing before authority. Loss of energy before creative projects. Creative projects require obviously our energy. So when you find yourself lacking the energy to delve into creative project, it means that there's something is up. Yeah. Numbness is another one. We are feeling beings, whether they are positive or negative feelings. We are feeling beings. So when you become numb, it's like almost you are resembling an inanimate object. When you are numb, you neither feel the positive or the negative. And that's why when you think about it, indifference is the worst emotion you can ever have towards somebody. It's even worse than hate, because it's like you have a sense of numbness towards somebody. But in this case, numbness to yourself also. You do not feel yourself. You do not feel your womanhood. You do not feel your psyche. You do not feel, so numbness. Then another anxiety. Then another symptom is afraid to bite back. You're constantly just being a good girl, always going with the flow. You need to embrace your feminine rage. And rage does not mean you have to shout and scream and break plates, sorry. It just means you need to learn how to express your anger. And of course, there are various ways you can express your anger, including speaking up, stating a boundary, including withdrawing your energy. There are so many ways, but ultimately you need to learn to bite back. But in this case, because you are disconnected from your womanhood, you are afraid to bite back. Afraid to try the new is another symptom. Fear to stand up. Afraid to speak up. Speak against. Yeah. You can't speak. Your throat chakra is blocked. You can't speak up for yourself. You can't speak up for your needs. You can't speak up for injustice, even towards yourself. You're just taking it and taking it and taking it and feeling bad and taking some more. You can't speak up. Yes, you can withdraw your energy. That is the loudest. But also you need to learn to exercise your throat chakra and speak up and say no. Don't just be a yes person. Don't be just a people pleaser. Don't just seek outside validation. Learn to speak up and speak against. Another one is a sick stomach, having constant anxiety and butterflies. And that's why when it comes to womanhood and femininity, it's not just about intellectualizing it. You need to be in your body, because some of the symptoms, you will feel them through your physicality. So if you intellectualize it and just be like, I'm bloated, and then I'm constantly having acid reflux, and then I feel inflamed, and then I'm constantly, you can intellectualize it, but at the same time, you need to be in your body to even first and foremost recognize that something is up. Are your menses regular? Are your cramps? Are you having cramps? Are you having constant headaches? In this case, are you having a sick stomach? Are you having a runny stomach? Yeah. Another symptom is being too nice. Another symptom is revenge. I kind of don't agree the revenge part, in the sense that sometimes revenge is necessary, but not revenge in the classical way of getting your lick back, but just, doing your best and being your best. That for me is the best revenge. Anyway, another symptom is afraid to stop. Whatever it is that you need to stop, whether it's a bad habit of people pleasing, whether it's a bad habit of seeking validation, whether it's a bad habit, just afraid to stop, afraid to act, afraid to act a certain way, afraid to do a certain thing even for yourself. That is action. Another symptom is not beginning. You have great ideas, but you're not able to begin, either because of fear or anxiety. Superiority complex is another one. This one also I don't kind of agree with it, because we do all have a level of, we all have complexes, it's just that sometimes ego, and I'm talking about this knowing that I have an ego and I do have a superiority complex. I know that. But in my mind, a lot of the times when you even think of the idea of superiority complex and having an ego, it is more of self-confidence. It's just that you interact with people who do not think as highly of themselves. So when you think about it, actually, I don't have an ego and I don't have a superiority complex. I just think very highly of myself. I think highly of myself. So when I'm around people who don't think highly of themselves, and when I'm around people who don't have high esteem, then I do come off like I have an ego. So those are just some of the symptoms. She mentions quite a number of symptoms, but I thought to talk about those specific ones because they're the ones that stood out to me. And I'd like to encourage you to do something. Take time to meditate. Get out of your mind and get into your body. Slow down. Get off social media. Just take time to breathe. Take time to be in your body. Take time to meditate. And really, truly listen to your body. Be in your body and listen to your body. I'm sure your body is telling you something. If something is not right, your body is telling you. Listen to your intuition. If your intuition is telling you something about someone, a situation, an event, or a place, listen to it. Whether it's good or bad, it could be a good thing because your intuition could be telling you that thing is good for you. But a lot of the times our intuition tends to tell us, when our intuition really kicks in, it tends to almost like an internal alarm telling us, something is not right. So listen to it. Check out of all the list of symptoms that I've listed, which ones do you currently exhibit? Which ones have you ever exhibited, and what was going on around that time, and what did you resolve about the situation or whatever was going on at that point? But ultimately, I have come to learn in my life and in my womanhood journey and in my femininity journey that you will always find the answers that you're seeking. And I'd highly encourage you to go look for this book, Women Who Run with Wolves. Such a beautiful book. I haven't gone too far, by the way. I'm still in chapter 1. I am in no rush to finish it, by the way. I am in no rush because every time I read, I find something new. And sometimes I want to go to the other 3 pages, but I find myself going back to the previous 3 pages. I've actually read the introduction, 4 or 5 times? And I have made highlights, I have highlighted, I have made notes, and I find myself going back. Sometimes I find my heart and my soul directed to a certain page, and I read it, I meditate on it, I pray about it. And I don't know much about the author. Perhaps I need to research about her, although she has written in the book her story, or who she is. She's they call Jungian psychologist. So she is quite adept at what she's talking about. She brings in a psychological element, a cultural element, a spiritual element, an intellectual element. So it's just up in my alley. So I love that it has that wonderful mix. So I think this is a very good book that I would encourage all of you to pick up. But here's the thing. Don't rush to read it like a novel. And if your soul and if your heart and if your intuition is not ready for it, don't force it. When you're ready for it, read it. That's how I approach most of my books. I mean, other than the intellectual books, all these other fictional books, inspirational books, I read them when my soul feels it's ready for them. You know, they talk about when the student is ready, the teacher appears. That's how I feel about this specific book and many other books that I have read over time. Like, for instance, the 48 Laws of Power, I had that book for quite a while. I actually got it, but didn't read it for quite a while. And when I was ready for it, that's when I read it and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So yeah, so those are the symptoms that a woman will exhibit when she is divorced from her psyche, from her intuition, from her womanhood. So let me know in the comment section if you do exhibit any of these symptoms, and or if you have ever exhibited any of these symptoms, what you did about it, how did you resolve it, or even now, what do you want to do about it? Until next time, I'll see you on the next one. Toodles.